All right, welcome into another episode of the Bulldozer Fantasy Football Podcast. I know it's been a minute. The distillery's been open, it's been crazy, been working a lot. With a little bit of time that I do have, I've been trying to take care of things at home, maybe get a little disc golf in if I can, and also some Ultimate Frisbee just started, so that'll be fun for Monday nights before the Monday night games. But anyways, enough about me. We'll just jump into what I want to do with today's episode. We are going to be going over the matchups individually, kind of what happened in week one. As we're rolling through those matchups, if we see something about a player that got hurt, injured, did well, we'll obviously just kind of go over it, gloss over it, talk about it, and jump into, however everyone's teams did and kind of the weird week one that happened and kind of the outcome of it. So we'll jump into with my team right away. That's not what I want. I think I faced off against Celculated and Basement Beard. So we'll jump into that. We'll go down the matchup, kind of roll through what I'm going through with my team, with Richard, kind of what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, and then maybe give a little bit of analysis on what the teams may be considering that aren't my own. So with mine personally, I've got. This is not the right league. This is Traders. Let's go to Jersey League. There we go. All right, so we'll go to League, Week 1 matchups. All right, so actually I played Zeke Campbell in this league in Week 1. As we discussed in the group chat, we go against not only the person we're facing, but also the league median. So if anybody's having any, misunderstanding about that, it's simply to avoid, teams, one, tanking, and two, also like getting beat by another, like the next highest scoring team, and still taking an L for it. It should kind of balance out and make it more of a luck, or less of a luck game and more of a skill based game. So we're looking at let's see here, my matchup with Zeke Campbell week 1. I think me and Richard are pretty happy with our team overall. There's definitely some spots where we want to see like some improvement, starting with Najee. I think Najee was kind of a disappointment. We kind of expected that against San Francisco, though. Really good a really good defense, and that Steelers offense was just not clicking. So, looking down the list, our wide receivers kind of came through. Godwin got that last minute catch, some garbage time points, but points count. Luckily, Metcalf got a touchdown, or elsewise the Rams defense kind of shut him down, to be honest. But Olave is our guy for sure. We traded for him to be that reason. He's going to produce, even in a low-scoring game against Tennessee. He did well. And then if you look across the board, like tight ends in general did pretty bad. So Kincaid with 4 catches isn't terrible in a tight end premium. So hopefully the rookie sees some more improvement. It was his first game. And then we've got, James Cook, David Montgomery, very running back heavy team right now. Montgomery's lots of carries, but Jahmyr Gibbs is probably the more exciting person to watch, obviously. So Daniel Jones was our biggest flop for sure. We're going to have to probably watch him and maybe even consider starting Mayfield in certain spots, when I thought Mayfield was going to be like a pinch starter. We might end up having to start him over Daniel Jones if the matchup is better, because Dallas's defense is going to come around again, and Daniel Jones was seeing ghosts for sure. Algier was a nice surprise on the bench, as well as Pittman. Pittman was just kind of like a wait and see. We didn't really expect him to do horrible. We just didn't know what to see with Richardson. And now that we see, Pittman's going to get force-fed a lot of targets, obviously Pittman's going to be in our lineup week in and week out. So aside from that, let's look across the other side. Z Campbell's probably his team with Austin, they probably understood that it's not going to be like necessarily a win now team. They went with a very wide receiver heavy approach, so their wide receivers are great, but aside from that, they do struggle in other areas. But Aaron Jones got hurt, so Dylan's going to take a step up. Pierce is going to get the work, obviously. Howell would be something I would watch, just because he wasn't doing too well. I know they won the game, but Brissett might start at some point, sooner rather than later. So CD obviously great. Waddle, obviously great, but they just didn't get in the end zone. Drake London, big concern right now is that he's just in an offense that doesn't have a quarterback or feature the passing game. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But personally, I think you can't sell Drake London. You just got to bench him and wait and hope that something starts clicking. But it's not going to be this year probably. Treylon Burks, kind of similar deal. Glad to see that he's healthy and playing, but wouldn't expect anything too big right off the bat. Derek Carr, 300 yards, one TD, one interception, but what else can you expect from a quarterback that's not going to rush a lot? He's going to need to throw a couple more touchdowns to be really relevant for fantasy. So I think looking at Z Campbell's bench, there's not much to do aside from keep on with the wide receiver build heavy and wait for some wins to roll your way. But the pickup of Mike Gesicki is pretty under radar. He did pretty good as a tight end. Since we were saying the tight ends all kind of sucked. So let's go into the next matchup here and look at that. We've got Maxwell versus Non-Soy Boy and their partners. So Burrow was the big disappointment, obviously. Aside from that, I think if Burrow would have just put up a normal game line, I think Maxwell would have had a shot at this one. But let's see, Chubb, Cook, Samuel. I mean, yeah, like you've got a very veteran, strong, heavy team that should be pretty good. Charbonnet kind of dropped the ball for you. But aside from that, it was solid scoring all around. Jordan Love did great for Non-Soy Boy. But overall, it was just like your usual kind of close match. Like no one really balled out and took the team home on either side of this matchup. I think if one person would have just scored one more touchdown or so, it would have probably gone that way. If you're looking at the bench, I'm sure Non-Soy Boy's happy to see that they've already got the waiver wire ads that most redraft leagues are looking at with Kenneth Gainwell and Kyron Williams. Devon A-Chain will be coming back. So their running back room is looking good, but across the board, you can't be upset if you're Maxwell, knowing that you've got Romeo Doubs, who's looking like he might be the main target, especially in the end zone for Jordan Love. So both teams have something happy to take away from it, despite a 2-0 and 0-2 outcome from them. If Maxwell could have scored just a few more, 10, 12 points, he probably would have beat the median. But who knows? So let's roll down to Mingo Ate the Baby and Bull Train versus Vegabetics, the brother matchup. Looks like Mason and Alex got their butts handed to them, didn't maybe make the right starts. Some of their studs maybe flopped. Hurts flopped for sure. Pollard was great. You're probably going to expect that all season long. Kenneth Walker didn't get into the end zone. Pickens didn't get into the end zone. Williams didn't get into the end zone. Goddard was kind of an upset for sure, a goose egg. Nothing you want to see from him. Gibbs definitely was exciting, but you want more carries. Kadarius Toney is definitely where you're probably very sad and upset. And then starting Paris Campbell, because you don't have a quarterback, you're definitely going to need to make a trade for a quarterback. But right now you're probably in a rebuild since you sold Olave, and you're waiting on Levis. I would, maybe even continue to start selling players to those that are going to compete and see if you can probably get yourself in a position for one of them top tier quarterbacks. But then we'll look across the way. Josh Allen, that was not what you wanted. You still won despite Josh Allen having a horrible game. But Dobbins going down is just gonna make it hurt. Tyreek Hill's gonna have to do what he did all year long for you to really feel comfortable, to be honest. Because now you're going to be relying on Javonte Williams. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. It's going to be kind of some piecing it together action probably from this side until Jameson Williams comes back. But overall, you shouldn't be too worried as long as you've got Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs. Those three studs can carry your team on any given week. So let's move on to the next one. We've got Lick Mike Gucci versus the Shitwind Sailors, which the Shitwind Sailors should not have scored this many points. They definitely were benefiting from some of the game scripts and some of the weird week one stuff that was going on. So their quarterback, Purdy, their running backs, I would never rely on these people on a week-to-week basis. Their star player, Brandon Ayuk, isn't going to be doing this every single week. A.J. Brown is obviously a stud, but he wasn't the reason that they did so well. We'll see what this team does. I mean, Tua is good. With those weapons, I think I'm starting to even come around. I've been a Tua hater, but we'll see what happens. I mean, Tyreek Hill can make anybody look good. He could take a shovel pass from me to the house if need be. So their depth is really, really not there. So I don't expect this from them all season, but we'll see what continues to happen. And then on the opposite side of the board, just a sad loss because, I mean, you're beating the median here with 130, but you're losing to the shittiest team by 18 points. Probably because Lamar Jackson, fumbled and threw in a pick and got sacked and wasn't doing that great for your team. Scored 2 points. Mikey's probably happy, though, aside from that, looking at his depth. I mean, every other player was pretty solid and kind of carried the roster, aside from his quarterbacks, which, as soon as the season starts to get into a routine and starts to roll through a little bit smoother, those quarterbacks will probably stop scoring miserably. Defenses always do well at the beginning of the season. So, all right, let's move on to the next matchup. We've got the Fantasy Bros, Brian and Fed versus UNC Panther, him and his brother, I believe. So we've got, let's see, on Brian's side, he's kind of going with his usual approach, veteran, winning, redraft style, worry about the future later kind of approach. His team, didn't do too hot, though, despite that. I think it's probably because he relied on McKinnon, was missing Kelsey. But Michael Thomas did okay. Jamal Williams did all right, just didn't get in the end zone. Geno kind of flopped. But aside from that, he's probably waiting for Alvin Kamara to come back, Travis Kelsey to be healthy. Probably should have started James Conner. Aside from that, though, his team's going to be dominant because Kelsey's dominant. As soon as he gets him in his lineup, he'll be happy. Until then, I probably wouldn't expect, too many crazy high-scoring point totals just because Kelsey's going to be your MVP, really, for that squad. So, Panther definitely got, all of his trade value from the McCaffrey trade. He's doing well. 22 carries, 152 yards, 1 TD. Just an absolute monster in that offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown's definitely going to be a PPR machine all year. It's unfortunate that Aaron Jones had a hamstring issue. Hopefully that's nothing too serious for your squad. But overall, this squad looks pretty good. I know it doesn't have a lot of draft picks, but outside of missing those draft picks, it's just deep across the board and with solid, talented players. So the UNC Panther team should be a good one to watch for sure. 2-0 to start out with a high score. All right, and then let's look at that last matchup. We've got H. Christ versus Dak. This was a close one, lower than the projected point totals for both of them. But Dak went 0-2, missed the median. Christ went 1-1. H. Christ. I keep missing the H on that, but he went 1-1 because he missed against the median. I think that's probably what some of the confusion was about. But solid looking squad on his side. You've got Lawrence, you've got Stevenson. Akers was a little scary just because of the 22 carries opposed to the 29 yards. The loss of Aaron Rodgers definitely affected Wilson. Luckily, he got into the end zone, but we'll see where that goes for the rest of the year because now the Achilles tear is pretty obvious. T. Higgins. Wow. What a zero. Just 8 targets, 0 catches. I really don't know if it was attributed to the Cleveland defense or if it was just the fact that Burrow wasn't there and his targets were off. But hopefully, he catches some of those targets next time and gets into the end zone and does better. Calvin Ridley was a nice upside play, though. During the offseason, wasn't sure what he was going to be. And now it's pretty clear he's the one, and Christian Kirk is taking a back seat. So if you're on the opposite end of that with Dak, you're probably looking at your Christian Kirk share not as happy, looking at your Antonio Gibson share not so happy, Rachaad White share not so happy, Deontay Johnson share not so happy. All those players did poor or got hurt. Mahomes didn't really do his usual because he was missing his guy Kelsey, so you can't really blame him for his performance. Um, we'll see. I think Mac Jones is a nice bench quarterback right now for Christ, and then let's see any other players that we wanted to highlight. Brees Hall on the bench, and then Josh Kelly. Both of those guys are going to be some solid depth pieces at running back for Dak, while Mostert's hurt and while Gibson's probably getting out of his lineup. So we'll see what week 2 holds. We'll actually kind of go look at that right now before we wrap it up. But week 2, let's see. I'm facing off against Jason. It's a close matchup. It looks like projected point total wise. We'll see what happens, though. We're both 2-0. You've got Non-Soy Boy 2-0 versus Z Campbell 0-2. All the projected point totals should probably be close, but once you start to get to like that 9-10 point difference, it starts to probably lean one way more than the other. Then you've got Jesus Was a Carpenter versus Maxwell. That's going to be a close one. Both 0-2, both looking to get their first win. So, maybe we'll see it from, 2-2 standpoint. But remember, if you don't beat a median, you could be 1-3, even if you do beat your opponent. So, then we've got Calculated and UNC. Pretty strong difference in projected point totals, but it doesn't matter. Remember, Calculated was looking like he was going to suck last week, and he was the highest scorer. And then you've got Gucci versus Dak, 1-1 versus 0-2. Both pretty good squads, so it's, let's see what way that start goes for both of them. If Gucci gets a 2-0 win versus Dak, then it's a 3-1 start, and it's nothing to worry about. But if Dak loses, it's kind of looking bleak. And then you've got H. Christ versus the Fantasy Bros, 1-1 versus 0-2. Should be interesting. I fully expect that until Bagels gets Kelsey back, they're probably going to struggle a little bit. So, we'll see what happens. Good luck to all of you guys. Hope your waiver wires went the way you want. We could probably jump into the Aaron Rodgers news for a second before I wrap it up here. Obviously, it looks like he's out for the year. I'd say he's done for the season. Plus, I don't think he's going to ever recover from that. Probably his last snaps were those 4 plays that we got to see him with the Jets. So, it's unfortunate, but I would just take adjustments. Don't trade Garrett Wilson now. If you got to think about it this way, like look at it from like a stock value. That stock's value just dropped. Obviously, you don't want to sell on the drop. You want to wait until they get something else figured out, which might be a while. So, unfortunately, it is what it is. And then as for Aaron Rodgers, just from like a dynasty perspective, this is the best way to look at someone's like value. Before injury, Aaron Rodgers was probably worth a first,